The Innovators Network.
Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney. This episode is sponsored by Zoom. With Zoom, you can streamline your communication, collaboration, and creativity all in one place. Zoom is the market-leading platform that provides video meetings, voice, webinars, and chat across desktops, phones, tablets, and conference room systems. To learn more about Zoom and sign up for your free account, visit killerinnovations.com/Zoom.
Welcome, innovators, to another episode of Killer Innovations, where we bring you the thinkers and creators who are inventing the future. This week, we are going to take a deep dive into the world of home automation. Why is home automation such an important topic to discuss? With the rapid advancement of technology, smart homes are becoming more prevalent in our daily lives. From controlling lights and appliances with a simple voice command, to having a fully automated home with features like security systems, entertainment systems, and energy management, the possibilities are endless. So we're going to delve into these questions and more as we unravel the future of this industry. We're joined today by the dynamic duo from OliverIQ, CEO and founder Will West, and the CTO co-founder Eric Smith. Will and Eric have a long history in the home automation industry, having been the founders of Control4. Since its founding, Control4 has gone from zero to more than $1 billion, billion with a B, in revenue. Now, Will and Eric exited out of that business many years ago, but are coming back into the home automation industry. I interviewed Will and Eric separately in two different interviews at CES in Las Vegas. So this week's podcast is going to be a little different. Instead of one interview, we will be presenting this discussion in a single podcast with two parts to cover all of the important topics and insights brought by both Will and Eric. In part one, Will and I will discuss the challenges faced by the home automation industry and how OliverIQ is working towards making it more user-friendly. In part two, Eric and I will be focusing on their innovative solution and how they are redefining smart home adoption. But before we jump into this week's episode, follow, like, and share on your favorite social media. This is a great way to help us reach more people and spread the word about the podcast. If you're not receiving the free weekly newsletter, visit philmckinney.com and click on membership to sign up. Now, let's dive in to this week's episode. So, Will, you guys have been making a big announcement here at CES. It's kind of your coming out party for OliverIQ. But you have a long history in the home automation space. Control4, which is a very well-known home automation up there with the Crestone family and all those types of things. Why do you keep coming back into the same industry segment over and over and over again?
I think it's a genetic disorder.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you a glutton for punishment?
I think that is the primary issue. But there's also just a sort of life goal. Eric and I, since we first met, wanted to bring automation to a very broad market. But with our last company, after we went public, or even as we were about to go public, there was so much market in the high end that we kind of got pulled that direction. The company got pulled that direction. There was a lot of cash and opportunity in that direction. The company just wasn't prepared to make an investment to go down market, especially when the products didn't really exist 10 years ago to make it accessible to the broad market. We took the company public, both of us retired, and then watched real automation stay in the high end. It didn't migrate down. People were buying product at huge scale, right? There's 100 million smart speakers, and just in the U.S. And
that digital door locks. And
it doesn't include the locks and the cameras and the Nest thermostats and the Ring doorbells and all that stuff that people are buying today, and yet they can't really connect them together and make it work in an automated environment. I mean, technically, inside of apps, you can make them work together, but it's a heavy lift, and consumers don't, sort of full stop, right? In fact, they don't even install them themselves to be the one device. And they're great devices, right? They install really easily, but people just want help with this stuff. And you start putting many of them together, and they really want help. And you put many of them together, and they have to have help, which is math we can talk about.
Right, yeah. 95% of consumers have a hard enough time, getting the right input number on their TV to connect right. You try to show someone how to Chromecast, and they have a hard time getting Chromecast to work.
Yeah.
And so now how do you, and it freaks enough people out to then how do you really support, the technology, even once it is installed, maintaining it over time?
There's essentially a category of people who are rich enough to have a high-end installer come in.
Yeah, a digital butler, a version of a digital butler. Right?
Yeah. But I mean, at Control 4, our average install was $75,000, and it goes way up from there. And that's just the automation stuff, right? Most people can't afford that, and they certainly can't afford to service it because every truck roll is $500 to $1,000, right? So there's this kind of 1% of the 1% who buy that high end. Then there's the do-it-yourselfers that might use an if this then that or some kind of do-it-yourself software.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is at the high end, they get very tired of calling a dealer back for service and paying $1,000 for a $100 problem, right? But the dealer's not coming back unless it's a $500 to $1,000 truck roll because they've got their next $75,000 job to do.
Right.
And they're busy, right? They will come back and service you, but they don't want to, really, right? So it's this kind of love-hate relationship at the very, very high end. At the sort of bottom end, you've got do-it-yourselfers who figure out how to make the door locks talk to the cameras and the air conditioning and the security system and all that. They figure it out and they get it working, and then automation decay happens, and it happens at the high end and doesn't matter everywhere.
Well, the innovation refresh rate is so much faster today.
I mean, let's just talk about the math. So a smart device is like an appliance. It's got a processor and memory and chipset inside, often a tight enclosure where it gets hot, and it does not last forever. It's like an appliance. So it's got an 8 to 10 year lifespan. If you have one refrigerator and it lasts 8 to 10 years, that's fine. I mean, it's not, you don't love replacing it, but that's what actually happens. But if I've got 300 smart devices in my house. If I had 300 refrigerators, then I can promise you what would happen, because it's just math, is that on average, I would have one failing every 2 months. If I had a small house, not my house, but a house with like a 2,000 square foot house. It's going to have easily 50 smart devices. Easy, right? Start talking light switches and all the stuff.
Thermostats, detectors,
right? You're going to have something going offline in a small house every 2 months. And that assumes the software never changes. Well, you and I both know that all those devices, the cameras, the doorbells, the everything, the manufacturers are doing software updates all the time. And they don't care who else is doing or not doing software updates, right? That's breakage that happens on top of the every 2 months, right? You can't avoid the fact that it needs constant service. full stop. And we've done this at scale, so we understand how it works. The do-it-yourselfer just gets tired of trying to remember, how did I make this, talk to that, and they just stop, right, eventually. And the high end has this sort of constant push-pull with the dealer. And then there's the whole middle market who doesn't even try, right? Because they don't even try and put in their Nest thermostat without help to begin with.
Yeah.
So there's this question of how do you make a model work with, first of all, best-in-class automation, because it starts there. You don't have the right to service somebody if you're not sort of the automation core. But once you do that, they're going to turn to you for everything. You become the IT department for the home. In today's world, the average office worker has 2.5 connected devices. The average home, this is very recent, like in the last 2 weeks, Parks Associates data, the average home has 16 or 17 connected devices. The office devices are on the same network and very often the same manufacturer.
Not only that, they're also managed by a full IT staff.
Yes, and in the home, there's all different devices using Zigbee, Z-Wave, Matter, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, all kinds of things.
And no two homes are the same.
And no IT departments.
Right, no IT.
Right.
But except in my case, I sometimes feel like I am the CTO of my family.
Exactly, yes. Right, and the bottom line is that automated lifestyle, that smart lifestyle just doesn't happen for that huge, almost everybody middle market, right? And so what we've done is create a platform that allows you to not only have best-in-class automation with the $100 products that are awesome, that are available today, but allows you to have them keep working in a way that's customized for the way you want your energy savings to work and your security to work and your entertainment and comfort and all that stuff, right? And it keeps working because it's a nonstop managed process. And if you got a problem, you call your IT department.
Right.
If it's an air conditioning problem or my Wi-Fi's not working, doesn't matter. You call the same number. By the way, that's what happens at the high end. They call the same number for everything. They just don't get the service at a reasonable price that they would like. But that's how it has to work. And so we've enabled that through partners that know how to work at scale with millions and millions of customers.
Okay, the question though that all innovators struggle with is why hasn't someone solved this problem before?
It's really hard. Most people don't even understand the problem because they think, gee, if I create a smart home thing, what a great idea, right? And they have no idea what the issues are when you actually roll out at scale with real automation happening, with lights and temperature and security.
It's really that they don't spend the time deeply understanding the problem.
It's hard to understand the problem if you don't actually do it and have had customers all over the world at scale with real full automated homes. And the benefit of having done it at the high end is, we've learned through that very expensive for other people process to learn what the issues are.
Right.
It's complicated right in the first place to make all these different devices from different manufacturers work together. But then you have to understand a whole nother layer on top of that. And we've been through that.
Right. Yeah. So how big is OliverIQ now? I mean, you're here, you're doing kind of your unveiling here at CES, but
we are.
How big is OliverIQ?
Well, we don't talk about specifics about the company, but the customers our job isn't to sell to you, the homeowner. Our job is to make a hero out of the very large company you already have a relationship with as your ISP or the home improvement retailer or...
Yeah, well, so who are those targets? We talked about the ISP, so you're people who are already providing your data access to your home.
The example I often use, because we're not yet, working with Swiss Telecom.
Mm-hmm.
I just use them as an example because it's just a safe.
Right.
But we're not going to make announcements for our customers who are rolling out starting in the first half of this year.
But it's ISPs, it's consumer electronic retailers.
Yes. It's ISPs, retailers, security companies. I'm just blanking the categories. Manufacturers and builders.
So the
who do scale.
So it's the home on, in this case, it's those that probably have some device-specific activities they may have. And it's really about now bringing that next level of support and service to a customer base.
So think about it like this. So I was an Xfinity customer for 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks ago, Google Fiber came up the street.
Mm-hmm.
It took me about 2.5 seconds to decide to switch, right? There's no stickiness. They used to try and sell voice, video, and data, right? And I don't need them for video. I certainly don't need them for voice. But I mean, video, it's all built into the TV. I just give me the bandwidth.
Yeah.
That's all I care about, right? And
then companies like that, though, then they went in and they did home security. They're all trying to do little things to try to create the stickiness around the edge.
That's right. But think about it like this. If all of my life, like the way I wake up in the morning, the way I manage my security, and the way I do energy savings, the way I manage my kids, the way I manage all the sort of comfort, convenience, important things in the way my home works, if that's all on the Swiss Telecom router, and then Google Fiber comes up the street, I don't really care, right? If it's a few bucks less, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to disrupt my whole life to start over.
Right.
Right? And oh, by the way, I know I've been calling on Swiss Telecom every month or two and more. Anytime I can pick up the phone and say, look, when I wake up in the morning, instead of having the lights ramp up over 30 minutes and the shades coming up and the temperature be, adjusting warm and all this stuff happens when I wake up, I want the shades to come up 15 minutes earlier. I can call, it's done, it costs me nothing extra, right? It's just done. So my house they're my IT department.
Right.
Right? It's a relationship. T-Mobile will literally give you free pizza if you just get onto their app every Tuesday. Right? They are so desperate to create ISPs generally. I don't want to call T-Mobile desperate. ISPs generally are so desperate to create a relationship with the customer.
Right.
When was the last time you looked at your ISP's app? I mean,
actually fairly recently.
Yeah,
you're
Starlink.
I'm unique. I'm not normal in that case.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the way, I talked to a lot of not normal people. You're still the first one who said recently.
Yeah.
It's just not normal to look at your ISP's app because nobody cares.
Well,
right?
it's either that there's a problem.
Yes.
Right? So you're checking it to say there's a problem.
Yes. But even that doesn't happen very often. Right? So what they want is that they want a relationship and they want to do more for you that really is sticky. And I would argue security isn't that sticky. Security, when was the last time you interacted with your central station? Never.
Only when there's a false alarm and you get the call because you're on vacation. And
so it's not that sticky,
right?
So
other than switching, because a lot of those security companies are proprietary platforms, and so therefore I can't switch.
Yes, right. So our job is to let you use the platforms of your choice, right? And the only way it builds sticky is because we create great lifestyle for you.
Well, then I can
great service for you.
And I can pick best in class. I can pick this security platform, that camera, that thermostat, and these digital locks.
Right.
And I can mix and match, and I don't have to deal with the complexity versus saying, oh, crap, I got to buy a home kit for everything.
Exactly.
So I got to look for home kit only, and and automatically I get restricted
Yes.
as to what I buy.
And there's actually a whole new area when you start tying in those systems together, security with all those other things, that opens up the efficiency of the service platform that we can or not spend time on. But the bottom line is the entire experience at scale can work better together more efficiently. For less than the price you probably pay for security today, you can have home automation as a service and fully monitored security all in the same package. Yeah. Right?
Well, it's one of the things I'll pay to not be annoyed.
Yeah.
You just don't. If I got to get in there and clear a paper jam, or I got to, all the stuff that you get around your house that just drives you bat crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And we have customers who want to do it for free for their customers,
right?
Because that sticky is so important.
Well, reduces churn, right? It's all about getting your churn rate down.
If
it's a lot cheaper to get churn down than to attract a new customer.
It is, exactly.
Right?
So that's our model, right? To make heroes out of the people in a position to serve you well today.
Right. And then they get to, and it sounds like, though, you've also put it in place such that there's high flexibility for the business model. Not everybody's doing the same thing where it's X dollars and there's a split. They can choose their own business model based on their needs for their customers. Your partners.
Customers are the partners.
Correct.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so they're not forced into a structure.
Yeah, we don't sell directly to consumers, which allows us to structure it flexibly.
Right. So how long has OliverIQ been around? I mean, you guys have kind of come out of...
We've been developing for a few years, and so this explains a little bit how hard this is to do.
Right.
We've been doing it for decades. We've been developing...
with your previous companies and your the questionable intelligence of how many bites at the apple in an industry can you go for? Yeah. So, not only have we been doing it for decades, but a lot of our team comes from our last companies, right?
Who already know how to do it, right? And yet, we've been working on it for a few years, and we're only just this year launching with our customers, with our partners, right? It's complex to set up the UI, the consumer software, which is also the installer software, which is backed by software that controls everything in your home that sits on the router or other consumer electronic device security system, and that's backed by the whole support services software in the back end. So a call center agent can help you step through and solve whatever problems you're having.
Interesting. How are you guys funded? Are you self-funded, or did you go raise angel? Or
yeah, so Eric and I have done some self-funding, but there's also traditional investors that we've used in all of our companies. Eric and I have done a bunch of companies together.
Yeah, I've seen both of your resumes, and there's a long list of companies.
Yeah, it shows our age, I'm afraid. But yeah, that's true. So if you project out 3, 4, 5 years from now, what do you think this market looks like? There's clearly going to be consumers at scale in the broad market doing things that, today consumers would be very jealous of. There will be very large numbers of consumers getting access to an incredible home automation experience at a super affordable, consumer price level.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, Will, thanks for the time.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Don't go anywhere. Next up is Eric Smith's interview. We will dive into OliverIQ's innovative solution and how it is driving the adoption of smart homes. So keep listening to hear from industry-leading CTO on the future of home automation. So Eric, we're here at CES 2024. You've been in this industry for quite some time, moving around at a bunch of different companies, but now you're with a new company, and I know you've made some recent new announcements. You generated a little bit of press buzz yesterday. You're kind of doing. Is this an unveiling for you here?
Yeah, this really is the first time we've publicly shown the product to people. We've done a few private audiences here and there, but this is the first time we've come out and said, "Here it is. Let's let the world know what we're doing."
Okay, so let's talk about it. What is it? You've been in the home automation space for quite some time. Before we started the recording, I laughed by the fact that you guys were founders, right, at Control 4?
We were the founders of Control 4.
In Control 4, and I have Control 4 in my bus, and we were laughing about the fact that, my bus was built 12 years ago, so I'm not the original owner. I didn't spec Control 4. But 12 years later, third owner, and all the updates and the upgrade, and home automation has always suffered from the tech refresh cycle.
Yeah, it's a really challenging problem because things are always changing, and they're changing faster than ever today. At least when we started Control 4, all these devices didn't update over the internet all by themselves and choose their own timing. We didn't have to worry about all that kind of stuff. We just had to build a reliable product. But it's really complicated. We have a thing we've coined called, we call it automation decay. If you get a Control 4 system, say, that integrator comes into your home, builds a great system, and the day he drives away, it's awesome. I mean, it does everything. My home has everything you can imagine. I control the pools and the fountains and the lights, blinds, everything in the home, audio, video, everything works together. But just the fundamental deal is every device will have a time it fails. Devices will have hard times communicating. Wi-Fi isn't perfect. And things will go offline. And there are real challenges to that industry, to the industry of home automation, that the devices just start to go offline. And so no matter what, a home automation system has to be maintained in some sort of way.
So what's your secret? What is it you're solving that upgrade and that consistency of performance, but how do you do that?
So we're doing it in two ways. One is by the way we go to the channel, and the second is how we do the technology. So I'll talk about the first, the
right.
channel issue first. Right now, if you want a home automation system, there are three ways you can get it. You can go to a high-end integrator that sells Crestron, Control 4, Savant. There's a few other brands out there. And you get a great system. But you're going to spend at least 10, 20, 30 grand, and usually more like a couple $100 grand. They're not inexpensive systems. And again, they work perfectly at the beginning, but then they slowly decay over time and you have problems. The second choice is you can go with what I call a smart security system, where they take a security panel, offer you security, but instead of charging you $35 a month, they charge you $65 a month, and they give you a smart door lock and a smart doorbell and a thermostat and call it a smart home. And the third choice is you're on your own. Go buy a SmartThings, go buy an Alexa, go buy a HomeKit, and try to integrate it yourself. But for the average consumer, that's more challenging than they can handle.
I would probably argue 90% of consumers that's not a valid option.
It's way beyond. So every consumer, at least in the U.S. market, and pretty much all of the world, I'm sure there's a few little corners, have electricity, they have running water, and they have heating and air conditioning. And none of us install that stuff ourselves. None of us maintain that stuff ourselves. Why do we assume when we're going to integrate all the smart devices in our home, including the devices that run those systems, that the consumer is going to do that themselves? And what we set out to do is, can we build a solution that will enable service providers to offer smart home as a service? So a consumer can sign up and they can have everything taken care of them. So there's literally a provider that will take care of them. If they have a problem, they can call them. Not only that, these providers can be proactive. They can know if there's a problem in the home before the consumer even knows about it and call them up and say, hey, we've seen there's an issue. Would you like us to come look at it? So that similar to maintaining our HVAC systems and similar to maintaining our electrical systems, there are people that will come into your home and help take care of this for you. And that was really the channel solution, is let's create a platform that enables service providers to offer this. So think like large carriers, MSOs, large retailers, home builders, security vendors. We're building a platform that enables them to deliver the smart home to consumers. The technology side is the other side. So one of the biggest challenges, most consumers have 10, 20 devices in their home that are smart, each with their own app, and they're trying to keep them all working. And the truth is, it's pretty easy for a manufacturer to keep their app working with their device. And usually what they do is if they're going to push some changes to their APIs, they push a new app ahead of that. That is smart enough to know which version your device has and know what to say. But if you're trying to do an integration system with SmartThings or Alexa or something like that, the skill doesn't update all by itself, and so now there's a problem. They download a new firmware version and it breaks the system. What we've done that's really unique is we kind of just, when the system's not busy, we kind of just round robin pull the devices. We say, And we ask them, one of the things we ask them is we have what we call our meta interface. And that asks them things like about their network connection, their IP address, their signal strength on their Wi-Fi, the hardware revision, their firmware revision. And most devices will actually answer us with that information.
Right.
If one of our drivers sees a new firmware version, it immediately hits our driver service in the cloud and says, hey, I just saw a new firmware version. Is there a new driver for that? And if there is, the system sucks it down immediately and has it, so it's fixed. But imagine the scenario of the very first person that got that update. That sets a trigger in our call center, in our back end, where an agent will actually go to one of our own devices of that type, load the new firmware on it, and just make sure that, kind of do a regression test on that driver. Make sure it works. If it works, he just puts a thumb up on it, and so everyone else gets the update, just gets a, yeah, it's good. If it doesn't work, that will trigger an engineer to actually look into it. And usually within an hour to two, we can have figured out what's wrong, what they changed. They might have just added an extra parameter into a call on their API, and we fix it, we deploy it, and before most consumers even know it was broken, it's already fixed.
Now there has been some work that's been attempted by some of the industry standards groups to try to standardize some of the smart home devices and the ability to communicate, share, and those types of things. Is that mature enough, or is that...
I've been on the committees for about 8 different standards to unify the smart home over the last 30 years, and we get some good things out of those. Like Universal Plug and Play was the last big effort to do this.
Right.
And what we actually did get out of Universal Plug and Play was SSDP, the Discovery Protocol, and DLNA, which was the way to share music off of different devices. And but in the end, those are the only parts of it that ever got used. But now I can discover almost any smart device using SSDP, and then I can just load the right driver to talk to it. I don't have to. So there are some benefits, but what all of these standards bodies kind of tend to miss is that as long as there's a profit motive for the end device manufacturer, they aren't going to want to be commoditized. So even if they adopt a standard, they're going to add their secret sauce. They're going to add, because they don't. Belkin actually announced about 9 months ago that they were backing out of Matter until they could figure out how to differentiate their products because of this exact problem. Matter's the current standard du jour. I think it's got some real legs. But if you wanted to be the jaded guy, you could look at it. This is just Amazon, Apple, and Google trying to make everyone else do all the hard work.
Yeah, with all Zigbee guys thrown in there just for grins and chuckles.
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne, who's the chairman, is going to reply to this podcast because he's a listener. He's going to say,
well, and Tobin Richardson's been a good friend of mine for many years, and I'm speaking on a panel with him tomorrow.
Yeah, and look, even in my previous work at HP, we did a lot of the DLNA stuff, and then at Cable Labs, we're in the middle of all these things with IoT security is a big focus for us. So in-home smart home devices and how do you secure them, and the inconsistency of security, those types of things. And it's just been the constant challenge. But when you got 400, 500, 1,000 device manufacturers out there, it's impossible.
Yeah. And in the end, if you really want an app that's going to control everything, the standards never cover enough of the features to actually make it all work. And every manufacturer, as long as they want to make money, is going to find ways to add extra features.
Yeah. Well, and that is it. It's the challenge of they want a differentiation. They don't want to be just the same thing, and therefore they get commoditized out.
Well, you've got HP background. One of the best examples I give is once Microsoft with Windows 95 was dominant in the world, they said this is silly that we're writing printer drivers for all these printers. They actually got several silicon vendors to make chips that could run a printer engine. They built a universal print driver, and they just said to all you printer vendors, just use this chip, and you don't have to do any more work. The driver will be done. And a lot of Chinese companies and Korean companies jumped on and said, this is wonderful. But HP and Sharp and Canon said, no freaking way are we going to do that. We're going to have our own driver with all our own special features. We're not doing that.
Right. And it's all, color mixings. And
they don't want to be commoditized. They want to differentiate their products.
Exactly. And so this being your kind of unveiling here at CES 2024, so what are you announcing? Is this partnerships? Is it deployed, used?
We're not focused on the partnerships yet. We're just announcing the company and what it does and that it's available for people that are interested in that kind of thing. One of the challenges we have is we have about 20,000 Control4 dealers out there that are very intrigued if we're doing something new, But most of them do 10 to 15 homes a year, and we just have to tell them we're not for you. If you're going to do hundreds or thousands of systems, we could be your guy. If you have millions of homes, we're absolutely your guys. But we didn't build this to compete with those things. We built this to make it so regular consumers can have all their devices working together, and not so that we can cater to that high-end market.
Now, I mean, Google had a little bit of a similar model when they first came out with the thermostats and the smoke detectors, because many of them required wiring into the house, and people are going to climb a ladder to, all of those types of things. But I'll speak from my own experience. I'm a Google house with Google thermostats, and I have 11 Google smoke detectors at my ranch. The challenge being is when they expired, I needed them upgraded. The same guys that installed it no longer are interested. They won't do the upgrade. So it's right back to your point. How do I get... So I've already done the installation, which I have to pay for the installation labor. I just need them to replace them because the smoke detectors expire every 10 years.
That's why we believe a recurring revenue model is what has to happen.
Yeah. So how does that model work? Do you then split the revenue with the
so it really depends on our partners. We call them primary service providers, and they get to choose their model. They get to choose what they offer and how they offer it. And to break it down to real simple, I would say, first of all, from the consumer perspective, we have some partners kind of on the high end that are going to go out and offer it at $30 a month. So Smart Home as a Service, $30 a month, includes monitored security, including the 911 monitoring and all that kind of thing that you get from and a 24/7 call center for any trouble you have with IoT devices. They'll help you online. And we've built out a network of installers who are willing to go out and actually do the work. If you look at across all of our providers, they do 60,000 truck rolls a day. So we have a lot of service providers willing to come out to your home and help you with it at reasonable prices, like a typical plumbers maybe aren't a great example. They're too expensive. But like a typical electrician would charge you.
Right.
They're willing to come out and do that for you. And so a service provider can choose. So that's the high end. On the low end, we have some providers that are just going to subsidize it. They're going to pay us, but they're getting $60 a month for a 1.2 gigabit internet connection, and they just want to keep you sticky, and they want you opening their app every day.
Really?
And so they're going to subsidize it and offer it for free to their consumers occasionally. And say, here's the platform. If you want to integrate all your devices, here it is. And they feel like just cutting their churn down is going to be well worth paying us a little bit of money every month.
So that being, like we were talking before, that could be like the ISPs, for instance. Yeah. It's all integrated into one thing.
And from us to them, the model is, just think, we have two models. One is like dollars, I won't say specific, but dollars per month per subscriber that actually adopts our product. And if we run the call center for them, it's going to be another $5 to $7 if we run the call center and take all their calls. We answer as them, and another few dollars if we do security monitoring. So you could see a situation where they could literally just offer the service and do none of it and collect $30 a month and keep 15 of it.
And then where's the technology at? Where's your platform at?
So there's three major elements to our platform. There is the app that runs on Android and iOS and is the interface to the home. It's both a consumer app and it's an installer app, and based on the credentials they log in with, it unlocks those features. We've got the software that needs to run on-premise. I mean, a lot of people are saying everything should be in the cloud, but the problem is cloud creates latency, it creates unreliability. And so we work through cloud devices. So basically we deal with Zigbee things local, Z-Wave things local, Thread things local, Matter things local, and lots of other proprietary protocols locally. But on some devices, we have to do a cloud-to-cloud integration, and we do that too. So there's software in the home that automatically detects new devices.
And where does that software sit?
It really just depends. So it could be in a set-top box. It could be in a cable modem. It could be in a router. We do have a little hub of our own. We call it our controller. It has a Zigbee, Z-Wave, and Thread radio in it and a processor. But in probably 95% of our installations, our software will be in someone else's product.
Okay.
We've already ported it to 3 of the major routers that most of the carriers use, and it works really well in an LXC container.
So this is not something that the consumer interacts with.
No.
It's just an aggregator and control point inside the home.
And so if you add a new device, so literally someone has OliverIQ and say they had a Nest thermostat and a Sonos speaker connected to it, if they go buy a new Ring doorbell using SSDP from UPnP, we discover it automatically because we do a discovery request every 15 minutes. Plus we listen for announcements, and a Ring doorbell will actually announce when it comes on the network. We'll pop up to the user, send them a message, a push notification, say, hey, we just noticed there's a Ring doorbell on your network. Do you want to add it? And all they do is go through the OAuth process, which Ring does require two-factor authentication, but it's pretty quick. You put in your username and password. You go to the Google Authenticator, put in the auth, and it's there. And from now, it works forever. And you can see the cameras through our app. It's pretty cool.
Excellent. And so you've already got the platform in place. You are now announcing here at CES that you're open for business. And now it's the engagement in getting these partnering deals.
Yeah. And most of it, what we're here for today is to find partners.
Right.
And to get more partners from different places. We've had a great show that way. We've found lots of great partners. And when consumers come through and say, how do I get it? One of our big partners we're working with really closely right now that's looking at a deployment this year is a big retailer. And I'll say, you know what? They'll be the PSP in that situation. So they will be billing some kind of monthly fee to the consumer. But any consumer will be able to go into one of their stores anywhere in the country and get one.
Right. Are you focused on the U.S., international? Are you staging
Our launch
this?
is focused on the U.S. right now, but we are already in conversations in South and Central America, Europe, and Asia. So we're already pretty engaged. Control 4, we took domestic the first year, but by the second year, we were already international. And within 3 years, 40% of our business was outside the U.S.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Hey, Eric, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
It's great to be here. It's great to see you.
And with that, we wrap up another exciting episode of Killer Innovations. I want to extend a massive thank you to all our listeners for tuning in today and accompanying us on this journey into this world of home automation. Your time and attention are incredibly valuable to us, and we appreciate you choosing to spend part of your day with us here at the show. I also want to express my heartfelt gratitude to our guests, Will West and Eric Smith from OliverIQ. Their invaluable insights, expertise, and passion for innovation undoubtedly enriched our understanding of the challenges and, more importantly, the opportunities within the home automation industry. As we continuously endeavor to bring you thought-provoking and enlightening content, it is our hope that you leave each episode with newfound knowledge and perspectives, tools that will empower and inspire you to see and shape the future. Now, we need your help to get the word out about the Killer Innovations podcast. If today's episode enlightened, fascinated, or challenged you, I would encourage you to share it with your friends, family, and colleagues. Every share, every like, and every comment helps us extend our reach and ensure that valuable content gets into the hands of more innovators just like you. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media platforms for updates and extra content. Additionally, we'd love to hear your thoughts about the episode or any ideas you have for future topics. Your feedback helps us create the content you want to hear. And if you haven't already, please sign up for our free weekly newsletter on philmckinney.com. I also want to make you aware that we are back putting out videos. We've released 2 videos from CES, and you don't want to miss either one of them. Check them out on my YouTube channel, and while you're there, subscribe and click the bell so you'll be alerted when we release new videos. As we sign off, I want to remind everybody that innovation isn't just about technology. It's about human creativity and the desire to improve our world. And with that thought, let's continue to push the boundaries and shape the future. Thanks again for joining us today, and we look forward to welcoming you back for our next episode. Until then, keep making a difference with your innovations. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.
This show is distributed by the Innovators Network. For more information and other great shows and content, visit theinnovators.network.